Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mind Over Mountain with me, Cheryl Strayed. This week, my guest is elite CrossFit athlete Rebecka Vitesson. In our discussion, we talk about her comeback from a major knee injury, about how she trains her mind as well as her body. And we also offer advice to a letter writer who wants to be more disciplined in her weightlifting routine. Let's listen to our conversation. Rebecka Vitesson, welcome to Mind Over Mountain.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm thrilled to talk to you. And I'm so fascinated by the world of elite CrossFit that you compete in. But before we get into your story, I wanted to ask you if you could just describe to our listeners what you do, because I think a lot of us have heard of CrossFit. You know, our friends are like working out, doing CrossFit. But of course, what you're doing is at a different level. So could we first start with that? What do you do and what does it take to be good at what you do?
So, yeah, I do CrossFit on a professional level, which means that it's my job. Like, that's what I do daily. And yeah, I basically work out twice a day, every day. I have 1 to 2 rest days, depending on like the season I am at. And then I compete, and yeah, like that's what I do daily.
And what are the events? I guess that's what I'm getting at. It's like, describe like, what does a CrossFit competition look like? What are CrossFit athletes asked to do when you're at the CrossFit Games? Because I think it's really a very unique kind of world. It's not a sport where you're just like good at one thing. You know, you're swimming as fast as you can or running as fast as you can. You're performing a series of different amazing feats that test all kinds of strength and endurance. Can you describe what is a typical CrossFit Games, event structure?
Yeah, so like for CrossFit Games, the title to win that is the fittest on earth. So what they want to do during like that weekend or that week is to test you in every different aspect to define what is the fittest athlete on earth. So they kind of mean that like only being the fastest sprinter doesn't mean that you're the fittest in all aspects. That means strength, endurance, gymnastics, like the whole package of being an athlete. So one event could be something that means that you have to lift the heaviest lift, or could be run the fastest, but then it could also be combined together. They have to do 5 rounds of lifting heavy and running fast, and then becomes the fastest times of that, for example.
And it's not as if it's not like a sort of heptathlon event, for example, where before you go in these very specific feats you have to achieve. In CrossFit competitions, there is maybe an element of surprise, I would say, that like you don't always know exactly what you're going to have to do going in. Is that right? Or do you get a little notice ahead of time?
It's correct in some way. Like some events you do know beforehand a little bit, or you can kind of know what you're setting yourself up to. And then some events you have no clue. So during the whole year, training up for the CrossFit Games, you really have to prepare for anything. So that's how we train. We are try to be as all-rounded and well-rounded as possible to be able to, manage anything that comes to us.
So how did you find your way to this sport, and what made you think, okay, this is the thing for me?
So I've always been into sports a lot, but I've been very unfortunate to have a lot of injuries throughout my careers. I got an ACL injury in soccer, and then a couple of years later, I went into basketball, but got an ACL injury there as well. So, and then I grew up with gymnastics also, where I also got an injury when I was very young. But the way I found CrossFit was I had a friend who did CrossFit back in 2014. And she could tell that I was like very athletic, and she said that the sport would be perfect for me, but I was hesitating a lot because of my knees. I was like, probably not a good idea with all the squatting and all the volume that was in there. But then one day she really convinced me, so I went there and tried it out, and it was basically, for me, it felt like going into an adult playground. It was so much fun. Like, it was not just one aspect that you had to do. There was like so many things you had to be good at, and I think that really caught my eyes. And then the community aspect made you feel like you were in a part of a sport again. So I think that was also something that caught my eye.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's, it's so makes it so fun to watch CrossFit too, because there is that playground element, except the people who are playing are just incredibly, like, unbelievably strong people
Yeah.
doing insane things. Now, you mentioned gymnastics. I know your mom was, or maybe still is, a gymnast and a gymnastic coach. Was that when you were a child? Did you feel like, okay, I should be a gymnast too? Or was there the expectation that you would be at the beginning?
I don't think there was much expectation. There were expectations on my older sister. She's 8 years older than me. So, but like she was a national champion in Sweden back then. And my mom was training her. She was a coach. And there was no real time for like me to be around, or my mom didn't even have could afford anyone to take care of me. So I basically grew up in the gymnastics hall, and that's why it kind of came naturally. Like I was just a part of it. I was running around sometimes, joining some classes with her, and then by an age where I could join for real, that's when I start doing it. But she quickly decided that I wasn't gonna be good enough for it. So that's when I went another direction.
Oh, your mom just like, why did she say you're not good enough at it? And how old were you when she said this to you?
I think I might have been around 5 or 6. So in gymnastics,
Okay.
or at least back then, it's a harsh sport because you get picked, or like if you want to be really good, you got picked when you're like 3 or 4 years old, and that's when they can see that you have potential. And I think for me, I was just a very tall girl already. Like I grew so fast and I was very clumsy. So that didn't fit really well with being a gymnast.
So you're like, okay, yeah, I agree. Were you crushed by your mom saying this? Or I mean, I don't mean to psychoanalyze you here. Just curious, like, how do you think that emotional response was, and how did that lead you to where you are today when you were told at such a young age you can't do something physical?
Yeah, like I think definitely I was crushed by it, but I think that's also became my drive throughout life. Like I wanted to show her that I was capable and was able to become something great. If it wasn't gymnastic, then it became basketball, then it became soccer, and then at the end, CrossFit. So I think it's been my drive to like show, or I think I've been I like when I get set up to challenges to prove that I can handle it.
You said that when you discovered CrossFit, you had already been injured as an athlete, like so many times. What do you think made you? I mean, I know you said you had so much fun doing CrossFit; it seemed playful to you. But, but, or maybe there would have been a good argument to say, hey, maybe don't compete on such an elite level, and test my body again and again when it keeps breaking down, essentially, or being injured. What do you think made you decide to pursue CrossFit on such a serious level in spite of those injuries?
Well, so when I started, there was never a thought of competing. For me, it was just starting another, like I was doing the global gym before that. So it was just doing something else because I liked to, train and work out. So it was never a thought in my head that said, okay, I'm going to go into CrossFit, I'm going to start competing. Um, but I did become good really quickly. So it was actually the owners or the coaches at the gym that asked me if I wanted to compete. And that's how I slowly started to get into it. And then I thought like, okay, it's actually quite fun and I'm actually quite good at it. So yeah, it just grew from there.
When you started to be at the gym and do that kind of I guess the really different kind of training, that is, I think, a lot more kind of like strength based and like you said before, broad. You have to be strong and fast and good at everything. Did your body change in response to those kind of new, different workouts?
I mean, it definitely gave me a lot of confidence because, again, I came in from 2 injuries. I wasn't sure if that was the right thing for me to do. But because there is so much strength training, I really felt so much confident doing what I did. Like I became so much stronger every time. And, going into the sport, just doing an air squat was very demanding of my knees. But then, going from that to getting my first 100-kilo squat clean, I mean, it doesn't just come over a day. It just comes because you're doing that strength training every day. So I just think it gave me so much more confidence in my body. And yeah, I felt like I could be much more myself in a way. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I think that's often it, right? When we find that thing that's like the thing we're meant to be doing, it's like it's almost, it's not necessarily a discovery, it's an affirmation of who we most deeply are already. So how did you, those folks are like, hey, you're really good at this. Like, how did you get from there to going pro and competing in CrossFit Games?
So I mean, I started doing some local competitions here and there, and then
And I should say you grew up in Sweden, but you live in Denmark, right?
yeah, right now,
Okay.
yeah.
So you were at this point, were you still in Sweden or were you living in Copenhagen by then?
I was still in Sweden. So I started
Okay.
CrossFit in 14 and I moved to Denmark in 17. So about 3 years later. And that was because of CrossFit. But before that, I was like putting myself into positions where I challenged myself. I did like going from local competitions to international ones and bigger ones. And then from there, other people start to see me and ask if I wanted to be a part of a CrossFit Games team. And then I think that's where it started to, go broader. I participated in this team, and then another team from Copenhagen asked if I wanted to join them next year. That's how I moved to Copenhagen. And yeah, so I did team competition for some years, but I always kind of knew in my head that I wanted to go individual, because for me that was like just a bigger challenge and something a lot of people said it was much harder and probably more more difficult, and not everyone could make it. So already there, I was like, I want to try to make it, kind of.
You're up for the challenge. So what's the difference? Is it
Yeah.
a matter of like when you qualify as a team for the CrossFit Games versus an individual? Is it simply that as a team, you're sort of sharing some of the, like you don't do all the events, or tell me what the difference is between competing as a team versus an individual?
So competing as a team doesn't necessarily have to mean it's easier physically, but because there's so few spots going individual, it's kind of harder, because then on a team you're 4 people. So imagine you have the top 30 or 40 people already going individual, and then that's the other people who decides to go team. So the level of competition is not as hard, but the physical aspect is still as hard. And a team competition could mean sometimes you share work, sometimes you actually do synchronized work. So you have to do something like mirroring the other person. So you do the same amount of work. Yeah.
And what do you mean by mirroring? Like you both have to do a lift at the same time or the same amount to get that point or something? How is that judged?
Yeah. So for example, if it's a gymnastic movement, it could be pull-ups. So then you have to do the pull-ups at the same time. So every time you're above the bar, you have to be above the bar at the same time. So you like do the same movement. That counts as 1 rep, 2 reps together. Yeah.
But in 2023, that was your big year that you, for the first time, you did qualify as an individual. At that point, like, what did you do to prepare to get that qualification? Like, did you have to take a whole different approach in terms of like your coaching or your workouts than you were when you were competing on a team? Or was it just more of the same, but like just more intensely focused on you?
Yeah. So going back a little bit to when COVID happened, that was right before COVID happened. I actually decided to go full time as an athlete to try to pursue my dream as going individual. But then COVID happened, and unfortunately, everything in Denmark just closed down. So there was nowhere to train, nowhere to do anything. It was quite sad. So, and no one knew for how long that was gonna be or happen. And then a year later, I think I got the opportunity to become a box manager at my gym. And I was like, I have to do it because I don't have any income at the moment. I couldn't just be a professional athlete with no income. I think that's been the hardest part in this journey. And so I became a box manager, but it's really hard to be a box manager. Like there's so many things you have to stay on top on. And I was at the gym from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day doing
What's a
the
box
work as a
manager?
box manager. But then, so it's a gym manager, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So managing the gym.
Right.
We say box because it's a CrossFit box. That's why I say box manager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So no difference. But yeah, so I was managing the gym, but then also trying to get in my own training sessions at the same time.
Right.
And they were very flexible with my work because they also wanted to support me as an athlete, and then they knew what my goal and dream was. But then at some point I was like, I can't be working at the same time. Like if I want to do this 100%, I need to go full focus on being an athlete. So in 2023, January, that's when I had the opportunity to go full time as an athlete again, because my boyfriend at that time was able to help us both financially. And he kind of said that I'm going to help you from January until August for you to do whatever you can to make it. And then from there, you're going to have to look for something else again. But yeah, so that was one of the things that for me, I took away all the distractions so I could only focus on me being an athlete. That was number one. And then number two, I started working with a mental coach. And then because I got more time during my daily life, I got more time for eating properly and having proper recovery. So I guess all those things kind of check the boxes to make it for the CrossFit Games.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think so many people
Yeah.
kind of forget that there's this money part of it, that like you can't be
Oh, yeah.
dedicating yourself. And it isn't just the hours and hours of working out, which I know you did, but it is also that other stuff, including like having the ability to get your mind in the right place and being able to do something like hire a mental coach. What did you learn from that experience of working with the person who's helping you with mindset and mentality?
I think most of it was that I've always been very harsh to myself and maybe like putting too much pressure. So kind of one thing that we worked a lot on was to have my boyfriend telling me that he loves me no matter what. So, I mean, he put a lot of pressure on me saying that I'm going to help you January to August, but then that's it. Uh, yeah. But at the same time, he said, like, if you don't make it, I'm still going to love you. Like, there's,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not the end of the world. So, yeah. So that helped me a lot to comfort me.
He's literally investing in you. And so I'm sure there was that expectation. You're like, okay, what if I fail? And then he's just going to think
Right.
he wasted his money. I mean, and of course that kind of thing never actually serves it's never a healthy thing and a healthy outcome. But I imagine too, on top of that, I mean, I love your solution too. He loves you no matter what, because it doubles then as
Yeah.
also couples counseling, right? It's like good for your relationship as
Yeah.
well as your mind.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it sounds to me like, I don't know you well. I just know you over the course of this conversation, but my observation is you're a really ambitious and dedicated person. And yet, so of course that you're also putting pressure on yourself, probably, that's just part of how you're wired. Is that true?
Yeah, it is true. Very true.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how have you undone that? Like, how did you like say, okay, I don't do well when I feel kind of hard, use that word harsh. Like how did
Yeah.
you learn to be more gentle with yourself while also being ambitious?
Yeah, right. But just small things like being more positive throughout the day, sharing like small victories. And I was starting to journaling also back then. So every evening, write down 3 good things that happened instead of, so you kind of learn your mind to think of the good things instead of all the bad things always. That was one of the things. And then I easily got like anxiety when pressure got too much. So we also worked on, I did, for example, ice bath a lot, not for the sense of recovery, but more to challenge me mentally. So how I was able to breathe and think about my breathing in that kind of harsh situation. Yeah,
Right. And regulate the nervous system. I know cold water can really be
exactly.
helpful in that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you have this experience? I know for me, I guess I feel like I'm constantly kind of mentally coaching myself to sort of make those shifts in more positive directions. And there's this space between like what I know or what like a coach would tell me if I had hired a mental coach, and then what I actually believe and or am able to live out or enact. Have you had that struggle? And like, how have you learned how to actually make, live out these ideas that you have been presented to you?
It's a really good question because I've been thinking of that one a lot also. Like sometimes you can get so many tools and like your mental coach can say things that sound really obvious, but then I think you really have to experience it yourself to really understand what the mental coach does mean with the different like tools. Um, because yeah, I think it can sound so obvious. Like also when I need advice from my coach or something, what the person says is so obvious, but then still things are happening. You're still putting pressure on yourself. You're still like doing all those things. So I guess I don't know how to answer your question, but I guess it comes with experience in some way.
Right. It's like practicing over and over. Like, even if you're like, I mean, that maybe, I mean, for me, when I say, okay, I'm going to, write 3 positive things down at the end of the day, at first it becomes this kind of task you have to complete. And then pretty soon it does become a habit. I think that has been, at least in my life, like the way that you actually absorb those positive lessons. What are the qualifying events? How does one qualify to be competing in the CrossFit Games as an individual?
So it starts with an open qualifications, which is in usually February, and it's online. So you do it in your own gym, with like the people there, and everyone can actually participate in open. It doesn't matter what level you are. So it's kind of a nice combination where like the elite athletes can train together with the regular member of the gym. So there's usually 3 weeks of this. And then from there, it's 20%. I believe it's a little bit different every year, but around 20% that moves on to quarterfinals. And then it's a weekend of competition, again online, which you also do in your gym. And then from the quarterfinals, it's again 10%, I believe, that moves on to semifinals. And then during semifinals, there's different ways to compete. You can either do live competitions or you can do an online competition, which the online will also be in your gym. But then from like this year, for example, there was 1 to 3 people qualifying from each online live semifinal competition. It's very complicated. I'm sorry.
It's a
And then
big
from the online
ranking
semifinal,
system. Yeah.
yeah, and then from the online semifinals, it was 7 qualifying in each division, men and women. But the year I was qualifying, there was no online semifinals. It was only live competition. And I only had the opportunity to compete in one semifinal. I believe it was like European semifinal, if I remember correctly. And that was 11 spots for the European semifinal. So it was a little bit different back then.
So you were one of those 11.
Yeah, I was one of those 11.
That must have been so gratifying and satisfying. And, I bet your boyfriend gave you a very big high five.
Oh yeah. 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 It's crazy to think about. Yeah.
So then what happened when you went on to the finals? How did you do, and what happened at those finals?
So I ended up as 25th best in the world that year, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But yeah, it is, yeah. It went very well. I think I mean, it was my first year going in as an individual, so I already set my mind up to I wanted to participate in a way that I wanted to enjoy the experience and enjoy that I got to be there. So that was like my number one goal to really soak in every event and just be there. Yeah.
I heard you in an interview shortly after that you took that 25th spot in those finals, that you were saying how happy you were and how much fun you had at the competition. But then like a few days later, you felt kind of sad. There was almost this like post competition, like sort of melancholy.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that. Why do you think you experienced that?
I mean, you're in a so much high during a competition. There's like so much adrenaline, so much things going on all the time. So I think it's natural that it's kind of a competition hangover. Really. It's very normal.
I wondered if it's, at all like this, like actually a biological thing. You literally are so full of adrenaline during all those competitions. And then it's just like, whew. So what did you do after that? I mean, did you right away turn around and say, here I go again. I'm going to try to qualify for 2024?
No, so the whole process getting there is so harsh. And I mean, it takes a lot of effort and dedication and so many things that you have to kind of turn down because you're dedicated to just this one task. So I actually took, I think, about 2 months off to really do nothing. And I kind of, instead of forcing myself back to train, I kind of waited for me to be like, oh, now I need to go back to the gym. And I also allowed myself to have this time and not be stressed about it because I thought that it would give me more of really just taking that time off rather than rushing into it again. And I think it's a wise choice because a lot of people rush into it, and there's so many injuries in CrossFit because there's so many elements you work on all the time. So I think the people who actually dare to take that time off is the ones that can last longer in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. But after that rest, I know you did get back in the game. But then in the semifinals, I think it was in 2024, if I'm not wrong, you had another ACL injury that was really quite dramatic. It happened
Yeah.
during competition.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I was very unlucky. That year going into that season, I felt so good. I already came out of some off-season competition that went really well. So the going or qualifying into the CrossFit Games for 24 was very promising. But yeah, during one of the events, I fell down. Or I didn't fall down. I actually jumped down the rope exactly that I did all other reps that I did before that. It was a freak accident. I was very unlucky and I twisted my knee and I knew immediately like it's not good.
You just jumped and landed wrong on that knee.
Yeah, I think, because your body are in so much stress because you train so
Right.
hard for something. And then during competitions, you can be so fragile. Like it doesn't have to be
Sure.
a lot for you to get injured. Yeah. I could see everything just flashed by. It was a sad moment.
Right. And you were back.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a familiar ground, but I'm guessing that like every time you re-injure yourself, like it's kind of a bigger deal, right? Because you're re-traumatizing an area of trauma. At that point, when you're lying there, I'm going to presume that you were lying there on the ground thinking, ouch. Did you think like it's over for me as a CrossFit athlete, or you know how is it that you decided, to come back as you have?
Well, when I was laying there, I was thinking it was over. And I mean, you don't think clear, and then you think that everything, all the work you put in is just gone. And I was also thinking it was over because when I got injured both in soccer and basketball, I never came back to either sport, even though I wanted to and I tried to. So that was my first thought that, okay, I'm never gonna come back to CrossFit now. It's over. Um, but then I had two conversations that changed my mind. One was with my coach, who said, because I asked him like, is it too late now? Because I was 30 at that point. So I also had my age into consideration. Like I was calculating if I gonna be out for 1-2 years, I'm gonna be old getting back. And his answer was that I was even not even near my potential yet. Like he could see there was still so much more left in me. So why would I stop now? And that really got me excited. Like, why not? Like, let's try. And then my boyfriend told me that don't let this injury dictate whether you should stop CrossFit or not. Like, at least try to get back and then end it the way that you want to, and not let your injury end this. So yeah, that's how I decided to really dedicate myself to get back.
But those are like two voices outside of you. And my guess is that ultimately, in order for you to really, really come back as you have, it has to come from within. You have to trust your own instincts and also trust your body and that knee again. How did you find that voice inside of you that said, yes, I can and I will?
I don't know. I just think that I saw it as another challenge for me to try to get back. And then of course it was never certain that I was gonna make it or not.
Right.
For sure. Like it could be another story where I tried to and then I would never trust my knee. But I went on to the challenge and I really just took one day at a time in that rehab process. Try to celebrate the small challenges and victories along the way. And really, I was so patient, and I wasn't in a rush. Like I was just trying to enjoy that process of trying to get back. And I think that was the biggest win, that I was so patient in that process that I could slowly build up both the trust but also the strength. And yeah, here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah.
So you've just finished your 2026 season, which was really a comeback season. How did it go?
Yeah.
How did you end up? And tell me about it.
Yeah, so I had some ups and downs before going into the season, and I actually had a period of almost 2 months where I couldn't squat anymore because I got a little setback with my knee. So we were very carefully with how we programmed stuff and what we programmed. And then the first workout that showed up in the open was I think around 200 reps of wall balls.
Oh my
and
gosh.
that's a lot of squatting. Yeah.
And how heavy is that ball? The wall balls when you do that?
That was 6 kilos.
Okay, 6 kilos. Do you know what it is in pounds?
It's 14 pounds.
14 pounds. Okay, I lift weights like 3 times a week at my gym, and wall balls are often part of the process. And we do it for like my personal trainer's like, okay, do wall ball for like 3 rounds of 60 seconds. So I can tell you doing 200 wall balls, that's hard.
Yeah.
Your whole body is burning.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I overcome that workout, and I think that's how we like started going into the season. And I felt really good still going out of that workout. Like there was no pain in my knee. So I think that also gave me some confidence. And then I slowly started to build up more and more volume. And then quarterfinals came, kind of a little bit the same story, that I wasn't completely prepared with my knee because we haven't been able to do the right amount of volume for it, but
Hmm.
we saw a lot of progress going into the quarterfinals, and then it was semifinals coming up, and I started doing my first live competition in June, which was French Throwdown, the same semifinal that I qualified in with 2023. The only difference now was that it was only 3 spots this time, so a
Oh,
bit harder. Yeah.
quite a bit.
Uh,
And did you qualify?
no, I didn't qualify for that one. I believe I finished 14th or something. So, I mean, out of 40 athletes in that competition. So still really good considering the history that I had. But yeah, it was some way to go. So then I had the other option to go for online semifinals, which was about 4 weeks later. So
Hmm.
I decided to go travel to the States where my coach is located. And they have like a whole setup and all the athletes is over there. So I was able to do it together with other athletes to have someone to, compare with and compete with and have that competition vibe, because it's really hard when you do it online in a
Yeah,
gym.
right.
Yeah. And that was 7 spots. And so during that whole week, when you do online semifinals, you have no clue on where you are on the leaderboard. You just do the workouts. And then there's a deadline where you have to hand in all the results and all the videos. And then about an hour later from the deadline, you can see the leaderboard is live. And I remember that moment because I put in so much work. I was so proud of myself during the weekend. So it was like I kind of felt I could have a shot, but then also,
Hmm.
I mean, it's a long shot also.
Right.
Uh, but unfortunately, ended up as 13th, I think, something like, or 15th even. I can't remember completely, but that was like the first leaderboard. And then if they have to look through all the videos, so there's a week of review, so everything can happen on that leaderboard. And in the end, with all the video reviews and everything, I ended up being 3 spots away total. So very, very close.
And
Yeah.
yet, I'm curious if you agree with my read of that is that you had such a successful season because you came back so strong. And, qualifying is obviously the goal and the ideal, but what do you make of, how do you feel about your performance this season?
No, I completely agree. I mean, the result was not what I wanted, but the effort and everything around and me being so close and me feeling so strong and confident with my knee. I mean, that's the biggest win of it all. I think it's an amazing comeback.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I mean, I always say this in really every regard of my life. I'm a writer. That's what I do professionally. It's like the measure of success is, did I give it all of my attention and effort, and did I put everything into it? And I think that that's true across whatever you're doing, right? Any endeavor you're undertaking. That is actually the more accurate measurement of success than that kind of external. Did you win? Were you the champion? Did you get the prize?
Yeah, I agree. But it at the same time, because I tend to not give myself enough credit for it because of the results. I mean, all the external, like everyone else doesn't see the work that is put in because they don't see me
Right.
at the CrossFit Games leaderboard, like, so
Hmm.
I think that's the hard truth.
Yeah, right. I know. I mean, we're used to like successes, other people noticing and saying good job. But I think
Yeah.
probably the more valuable one is that Rebecka, like what
Yeah.
you have given. And that's really powerful. Speaking of somebody who's feeling like, that they haven't lived up to their own measurement of success, I have a Dear Sugar letter that I would love to read to you, and you can help me give this woman some advice. Would you do that?
Yeah, of course.
Here's the letter. Dear Sugar, I'm in my early 40s, and the perimenopause symptoms I've begun having are reminding me that my body is moving into the next chapter. I've been an active person all of my life, but I don't consider myself an athlete by any stretch. I walk daily, and my bicycle is my primary form of transportation to my job, which is about 2 miles from my house. As I think about getting older, I've realized I need to step it up when it comes to protecting my health by building muscle and protecting my bone mass. I know resistance training is the best way to do this. So just after the new year, I joined a gym. I wish I could tell you that I have followed through on the goal I set for myself of going 3 times a week to lift weights, but I can't. I've gone once a week on average, and many weeks I don't go at all. In my mind, I tell myself I need to be more disciplined, but I can't seem to put that into action. The athletes you interview on your show are all about self-discipline, and I know you regularly lift weights, Sugar. How do I find that discipline in myself? What are the methods or tricks you use to make yourself do something when it's not on the top of your list of most desired things to do? I feel like I'm a reliable person in other parts of my life, but I cannot seem to conquer this. Signed, wanna be a weightlifter. Okay. Rebecka, you seem like quite the expert at discipline and self-discipline.
Yeah.
So let's give her some tips. What do you think?
I mean, there's different thoughts about it, but one of them is going 3 times a week is a really good goal, but also a high goal, I would say. Like starting with 3 times is not very easy. So I think if you would compare going 3 times as me trying to qualify for the CrossFit Games, I just don't start with trying to qualify for the CrossFit Games, but I find small goals along the way that it's more achievable. So I mean, setting down the target a little bit to in the end achieve the 3 sessions a week, I would say would be a start to kind of, maybe like if you start with, okay, I'm gonna go 1 time a week. And once I've achieved that for certain times of week or months, then you can be like, okay, I won this first goal. Let's add on. Let's build to the next goal. I think starting a little bit smaller is something easier.
Yeah, I was going to start there too. I mean, I have, like you, I think we have like a whole list of things to say to her, but it's interesting you say that because that was my very first thing is I think so many people, this letter is so relatable because so many people find themselves in that situation and they begin a program, right? And it's like they begin where they actually want to end. And that I was going to say,
Yeah.
go fewer times, or also like maybe go to the gym once a week, but then at home a time or two a week, do some planks, do some, wall sits, do some push-ups, like there are ways to do some resistance training that are just like body weight resistance training that you can kind of start to like do shorter workouts, say I'm going to lift weights for 15 minutes instead of go do like an hour. So start small and work your way up. I think that's one piece of good advice. What next?
Yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, and then next, I mean, I can seem to be very disciplined, but if I didn't have a coach to tell me what to do each training session, I don't think I would do it either. So I think you have to find those things that can help you along the way, also that makes it easier. Just a funny thing, I think it was a year ago, I actually bought an electric bike because in Copenhagen you bike everywhere. But sometimes I couldn't get myself to go to the gym because it was so taxing. Like I had to bike all the way to the gym, and that was just a hard task itself. So I decided to buy an electric bike. So I took away that thought of, okay, it's hard to go to the gym.
I love that. That brings me such joy. Rebecka, I think I'm not alone in thinking like, okay, if Rebecca's like, oh my God, it's too hard to ride my bike to the gym, that is like takes the pressure off of a lot of us because you're like so much more advanced.
Yeah. I mean, there's always things you can, it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to think that you have to be the most disciplined person to do X, Y. I mean, find the things that makes you do it. If that means that if you could have a coach telling you what to do or someone that makes your program, if that makes it easier, so you can just go to the gym, look at what to do. I think those things could be a factor as well to make it.
what I do, and what I wanted, the ideal when I've lifted weights off and on all of my life, but really I've taken it more seriously in the last like 3 or 4 years. And, my ideal was I'm going to just report myself to the gym, 3 or 4 times a week and lift weights. And I do that on occasion. But what I've learned is that I actually have to sign up for classes. And they're like these personal training classes, small group with like four or five other people and a trainer. And it makes such a difference. And it's just what you said, Rebecka. It's like somebody is standing there telling me what to do. Somebody's keeping me accountable. There's also a time, like the class starts at 11 o'clock. I have to be there. If I leave it to myself, like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym today, and then I just never get there. So, I think finding a way, want to be a weightlifter, to find a community, whether that be hiring a trainer, joining a class. Also, the women who are also in this same personal training group that I'm in, like we're gym buddies, and I look forward to chatting with them as we do deadlifts and so forth, and weighted squats, and so it becomes like a kind of, you say that it's this thing you don't desire, but once you build a community, it does get to be kind of fun. Like you said, Rebecka, you actually have fun when you go to the gym.
Yeah, a third thing I would say is, because sometimes when I go to the gym or find myself having hard time to actually just go to the gym, I start, doing the things that gets me to the gym. For example, a first step, if I'm just laying in the sofa and I'm like, oh, I can't get myself to the gym. First step would just to put the training clothes. Like I wouldn't think about if I have to go or not. I just put the training clothes on first. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm ready. Now I'll go to the gym. Or for example, when I'm at the gym and if I can't get myself started, one thing I usually do is either I take my program that I have and I write it down on a piece of paper or like a chalkboard, just so, because then I get started. Like once I start writing it down, I'm like, okay, now we got first step out of the way. Let's get into step 2. That would be, for example, start to warm up. I don't have to think about what to do yet, if I should do it or not. I'm just looking, okay, we're doing squats today. I'm going to start warming up my lower body. And then I'm slowly getting into the rhythm. And once you have a momentum, it's easy.
Yeah, it gets easier. It does. So,
yeah.
I think too, this mental, we've talked about that mind, the mental part of it is to like want to be weightlifter. I think, let Rebecka and I assure you that we're with you in the struggle, and you're not a failure. Like you haven't, like, you've got the fact that you've gone once a week is a victory. So you weren't going once a week this time last year, and now you are. So, take some of these more positive viewpoints and move forward with it. I think we've given her some good advice. Rebecka, you're a good dear sugar.
Great.
Thank you.
Love it.
Okay, so 2026 season is behind you. There's so much, you're riding, on so much really success and rehabilitating that poor injured knee of yours. What are you looking forward to in 2027? What is the next mountain that you have to climb, either as an athlete or a person?
Yeah, so I mean, my goal is still there. I want to get back to the CrossFit Games. So that one is still up for 2027. But my goal for that is to do it in a healthy way where I stay strong in my mind and body. And by saying that, I think looking physically at this season, it was really going well, but I do have some mental struggles getting back from my injury, because I think being away for 2 years, I put a lot of pressure on myself, and that had really taken a toll on me mentally. So going into 2027, I want to get into that being a much stronger mindset and confidence and self-esteem. And yeah.
Well, I believe that you have all of that in your power, and I'm wishing you so much luck, Rebecka, as you go forward. I'll be watching what you do. So good luck, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like to get advice from me, please send me an email to deardearsugar@gmail.com. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Happy trails, and I'll see you next week. Mind Over Mountain with Cheryl Strayed is an iHeart Women's Sports production, produced by Brittany Brown and Rodney Brown of Barbara Jean Productions. Supervising producer is Kaylin West at Realm. Associate producer, Amaya Brathwaite. Our executive producers are Molly Barton, Jerry Carita, Grace Fuse, and Jesse Katz. Our theme song is composed by Gramoscope Music. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Happy trails, and I'll see you next week.